Okay, so Tottenham Hotspur looking for a new manager. There's also plenty of movement activity in the transfer market with that first bonus transfer window closing on Tuesday. Mark McAdam is back and we've got some new news.
Liverpool confirming the signing of Alexander Isak has sent ripples not just across Anfield, but throughout the entire football world. Transfers of this magnitude are rarely simple, and even more rarely do they happen without months of speculation, leaks, or counterclaims. Yet here it is, official, concrete, undeniable. Alexander Isak, one of the Premier League's brightest attacking talents, is now a Liverpool player. For Jürgen Klopp and the club's hierarchy, it is a statement not merely of intent but of evolution, a move that signals Liverpool's determination to continue fighting for the biggest trophies in England and in Europe, while simultaneously reshaping their identity in attack for the years ahead. For supporters, it is the thrilling unveiling of a player they have admired from a distance, one whose blend of elegance and ruthlessness on the ball makes him as captivating as he is effective. For Newcastle fans, it is the bittersweet reality of seeing a beloved talisman leave, a reminder that football's hierarchy remains as unforgiving as ever when a giant comes calling. Alexander Isak's journey to this point has been far from ordinary. Born in Solna, Sweden, he was earmarked as a prodigious talent from an incredibly young age, often hailed as the next Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a label that followed him relentlessly during his formative years. That tag, while flattering, placed a unique burden on his shoulders, for Zlatan was more than just a Swedish striker. He was an icon, a symbol, an untouchable presence who combined swagger with brilliance. Yet Isak never tried to be Ibrahimovic. Instead, he carved his own path, leaning into a different style, one defined not by chest-thumping ego but by quiet intelligence, grace, and lethal precision in front of goal. From his early rise at AIK to his ventures abroad with Borussia Dortmund and Real Sociedad, every step of Isak's career has been defined by growth, patience, and an ever-expanding skill set. By the time he arrived in the Premier League with Newcastle United, he was no longer the precocious teenager carrying the shadow of Zlatan, but a fully formed forward with a point to prove in the most demanding league on the planet. At Newcastle, Isak blossomed. Signed for a then-club record fee, his arrival coincided with the club's rise under new ownership and Eddie Howe's astute management. He quickly endeared himself to the St. James Park faithful with his combination of pace, technical ability, and composure in front of goal. His first touches often left defenders scrambling, his ability to glide past opponents defied his tall frame, and his finishing became increasingly clinical. He was not just a scorer of goals but a scorer of important goals, the kind that shift momentum in matches and seasons alike. Fans adored him because he wasn't flashy for the sake of it. Every flick, every movement, every decision carried purpose. For a club desperate to return to the upper echelons of English football, Isak was not just a signing, he was a symbol of what Newcastle aspired to become. Yet football is rarely sentimental. While Newcastle's rise was commendable, the gravitational pull of clubs like Liverpool remains immense. Anfield, with its rich history, its relentless atmosphere, and its expectation of competing for the highest honors, has always been a dream destination for players who see themselves among the elite. For Liverpool, Isak represents not just another forward but a carefully chosen piece of a puzzle Klopp has been reshaping. Over the last few years, the club has transitioned away from the iconic front three of Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and Roberto Firmino, a trio that terrorized Europe for half a decade. Mane departed for Bayern Munich, Firmino has moved on to new pastures, and Salah, while still devastatingly effective, is now in the latter stage of his prime years. In their place have come the likes of Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo, Luis Díaz, and Diogo Jota, all of whom have shown flashes of brilliance but have yet to replicate the consistent, almost telepathic connection of the original trio. Isak, however, feels different. He is not just another addition, he is potentially the player around whom the next great Liverpool attack can be constructed. At 25, he is entering the prime years of his career. He has proven himself in multiple top leagues, displayed versatility across different tactical systems, and crucially, he possesses the temperament to thrive under pressure. Klopp has always valued forwards who do more than just score goals. Pressing, movement, link-up play, and selflessness are as essential to his system as finishing ability. Isak checks all of these boxes. He presses intelligently, cutting passing lanes and forcing errors high up the pitch. His movement is deceptive, dragging defenders into uncomfortable zones and creating space for wide forwards to exploit. He links play with composure, dropping deep when necessary or drifting wide to create overloads. And when the opportunity arises, he has the ruthless composure to finish with either foot. The tactical implications of this signing are vast. With Isak leading the line, Liverpool's attack could evolve in several directions. One possibility is that Salah, still the club's most reliable source of goals, will thrive even more with a striker who can occupy defenders and create pockets of space for him to exploit. Another is that players like Díaz and Núñez, who often operate best when running into space, will benefit from Isak's ability to hold up play and distribute intelligently. For Gakpo, who has shown promise as a false nine but sometimes lacks the cutting edge in front of goal, Isak's presence alleviates the burden and allows him to flourish in a role more suited to his strengths. Beyond the immediate tactical fit, there is also the long-term consideration. Klopp, and whoever eventually succeeds him, now has a forward capable of leading the line for years, ensuring stability in a department that has seen much transition recently. Off the pitch, the symbolism of Liverpool outmuscling rivals for a player of Isak's caliber cannot be overstated. In recent years, the club has been accused at times of being overly cautious in the transfer market, of hesitating to make bold moves when rivals were strengthening aggressively. Manchester City, Arsenal, and Chelsea have all splashed heavily to reshape their squads, and while Liverpool have made smart acquisitions, there has always been a sense among supporters that the club needed to be more daring. The signing of Isak changes that narrative. It is not just about the player's qualities but about what it says: Liverpool are still capable of competing for marquee names, still willing to back Klopp with the firepower he needs to compete with Pep Guardiola's juggernaut, still intent on maintaining their place at the very top. The reaction among Liverpool fans has been predictably euphoric. Social media exploded with excitement the moment the official confirmation came through, with supporters posting highlight reels of Isak's goals, imagining how he might combine with Salah, or joking about how opposition defenders must be dreading the prospect of facing him at Anfield. For many, this transfer rekindles the sense of anticipation that had perhaps dulled slightly in recent seasons as the team battled through injuries, inconsistency, and the gradual transition from one era to the next. The thought of Isak walking out to "You'll Never Walk Alone," clad in the famous red shirt, is enough to ignite belief that something special is brewing once more. Of course, with such a high-profile move comes expectation and scrutiny. Isak will be judged not just on his goals but on his ability to deliver in the biggest moments: the crunch Champions League nights, the decisive Premier League clashes, the finals that define legacies. Liverpool is not a club where players are afforded endless patience. Yet there is every reason to believe Isak has the mentality to embrace that pressure. He has never appeared fazed by the spotlight, never seemed burdened by the weight of comparisons or expectations. At Newcastle, he quickly adapted to the demands of English football, delivering performances that earned admiration from pundits and peers alike. His composure, his work ethic, and his humility have consistently set him apart. The transfer also raises questions about what comes next for Liverpool's other forwards. Núñez, who has had a polarizing spell at Anfield, may now find himself competing directly with Isak for the central striker role, though Klopp could also choose to rotate or adapt formations to accommodate both. Jota, ever reliable when fit, may see more minutes in wide areas or as a rotational option. For Salah, whose future has often been subject to speculation with interest from abroad, Isak's arrival could either reinvigorate his desire to stay or subtly prepare the club for a future beyond him. In any case, the competition for places is fierce, and that is precisely how Klopp likes it. A squad brimming with attacking options gives Liverpool the depth they need to compete on multiple fronts, something that proved decisive during their most successful campaigns. Looking outward, the wider Premier League context is also fascinating. Manchester City have Erling Haaland, Arsenal have Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz, Chelsea continue their experiment with Nicholas Jackson and a host of young talent, and Manchester United are banking on Rasmus Højlund's development.